Hi there, Vibe Gardeners. Welcome to this episode of Vibe Gardening Inform Edition, where we're going to talk about how I'm tackling this very compact and what seems like a terrible soil to grow in, and how I'm planning to transform it year through year into something that's actual fertile and good for planting. So let's go. As you can see here, this soil, there's a lot of patches here where there's nothing growing. Even weeds cannot penetrate this. I have a lot of very stubborn weeds in the yard where it will grow on anything, but this is soil that cannot grow. So let's go over a little bit of history of how the soil got here. So essentially what happened was about a year and a half ago, we had a basement foundation work done on our house. And what we ended up doing was we had to basically get the contractor, get an excavator come out here and dig a trench all around the house to be able to put anchors to pull the what could the walls of the basement out so that it doesn't crumble in from the pressure of the water. So yeah, so basically what they did was they had to dig up all this heavy clay, or I think it's clay. Either way, it's really unworkable soil from under the ground and bring it up so they can get down there and put in the anchors. And they didn't put the soil back the way they got it out. So what ended up happening was the topsoil, where the nutrition, where the grass and the weeds and stuff can grow, got buried under the underground. And then what ended up happening here is we got ended up getting the hard soil on the top instead of below. So this is why we have this really bad soil on the top, is that they just didn't put the soil back in the right order, which they came out with. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's clay or not, but according to this video by Garden Fundamentals, they talk about, so he talked a little bit about how to test if it's clay or not. And honestly, I could do that, but either way, I know the result. The result is that there's not really any organic matter that is actually plant nutrition on the top, and it's heavily compacted. It could be clay, it could not be clay. I don't really care. The result is the same. Is that this is compact, hard soil. So either way, this year I started a transformation plan to try to terraform the soil into something that is friendly to plants. So with that said, well, let's go into the what I've done this year, and I'm trying to do to essentially punch through this dirt and make it more friendly for plants to grow into. So the first thing I did this year was I chose to use cover crops. Cover crops are essentially designed to be hardy plants that are essentially, as it suggests with the name, it's kind of like a blanket over the dirt. It can basically penetrate a lot of really hard and heavy soil, like this hard clay. You can see here it's completely covered, and there's a very little patch of dirt still showing where I spread the seeds. And I'll link below the Crimson Clover seed I got from Amazon, because I'm not trying to do commercial spreading. So getting it from actual seed company didn't make sense. Whereas Amazon, I can buy under 5 pounds of the seed and be able to cover what I need to cover without buying too much and be stuck with it. As you can see, the reason I picked the Crimson Clover is that it looks gorgeous. This red flower here, as I'll do a zooming a little later on, is very beautiful, and I like how clover looks. So it is meant to grow one zone or two zones above mine. So the property here is that by the time that winter comes over and starts freezing, it's going to kill this plant, leaving behind roots that's stuck in the soil where it punched through, and it's going to decompose and become organic matter in the soil. As Garden Fundamental mentioned in his video, that's going to be quite crucial for basically aerating and bringing structure into the soil that's not going to be too compact. And the other thing too is that because it dies every winter, what it does is that if I don't want to continue propagating, I can basically cut it back and keep it from flowering the year that I don't want it to come back. So it's very much controlled where I live. So that's what I love about it. And also when it dies off in the winter, the top of there is going to be able to let the dead leaves and other matter from this plant to become compost. And again, help fertilize the soil. So I can basically just mix it in, and it'll be able to help things. This year I'm letting it flower and letting it go to seed, so that I can get another year of these crimson clover, because this soil needs a lot of work, and it's a one-time payment that, it keeps going. It's a gift that keeps giving. So that's why I picked crimson clover. So here's a close-up of the crimson clover. There's not much of them left because it's near the end of the season. So most of them have already gone to flower and seeded. And as you can see, this flower right here, it is absolutely gorgeous. It looks great. And I think added to the whole clover look here, it is very beautiful. And with all the green leaves here, it's going to be able to create a lot of nitrogen heavy compost when it decomposes. And I really think this is going to be a great thing to add to this garden. A second strategy I've came to develop is I put up these vining plants, mostly squash-like. So this is a pie pumpkin I planted here. It's actually a black futsu. It's a kind of heirloom pie pumpkin. I was able to save the seed from Jacob Fresh Farms harvest last year, and I really liked the pumpkin itself. So I planted this here knowing that the roots are actually quite hardy and can punch through quite well. So I started with this, and it actually did okay. I mean, this is only my second one that's going to come through. As you can see, I put up a pretty hefty, so this is the pumpkin right here. I put up a pretty hefty cage here because I lost all but one of my pumpkins except for this one. I harvested one pumpkin. All the rest of them, probably some kind of bunny or squirrel ended up eating them. And I learned a big lesson here that I need to put up a cage for them to protect my fruit. So, but yeah, as you can see here, this actually did well, the pumpkin here. So definitely, if you want to go punch through this, what I did was I dug uh, a bowl into the ground, and it's about a 2-foot radius. I mean, 2-foot diameter, 1-foot radius hole, and then I basically mixed in compost in here with the native soil, so that it's going to come up as a mound. And by doing that, I'm going to basically give the plant a very good, nutritious start to their life. And then once it reaches the edge of it, hopefully it'll be able to have enough strength and maturity to be able to punch through the heavy compacted soil here. And as it did that later in the season, it started to yellow the leaves near the center of the the plant, where the root is. And that's expected because, of course, nutrition starts dying off. But that's the sacrifice you're going to have to make when you're doing this. Now, if I get any harvest, which I did, it's a bonus to being able to do this. So, of course, I also did a lot of fertilization as it got older to try to keep up with its need of nutrition as it starts getting into nutrition, what's called a scarce resource. And that's what kept the produce going. So this actually worked, and I'll show my harvesting a little bit. I mean, it's actually pretty awesome. We're going to be able to make a pumpkin bread with it. Definitely looking forward to it. But yeah, this actually worked with the pumpkins. So here is another plant that I try to do the same thing as the pumpkins. This is a cantaloupe. Not even sure what kind. This was given to my wife as a gift that came a little too late. And the seeds were sitting around. I'm thinking, by next year we're going to be losing a lot of viability on the seed. So why don't we just take a chance here and see what we can get out of it? If we get any fruit, that would be fantastic. And yeah, I mean, I had to start the seeds fairly late, so it took near the end of June for us to get anything that's be able to transplantable into this mound I created here. It's the same kind of mound that I created with the pumpkin, which is half compost and half native soil. And it did well, but the problem was it was slow. Once the roots hit the edge and into all compact soil, obviously it had the same kind of a nutrition problem as a pumpkin, but the problem was because of delayed start, the temperature was already dipping by that point, and this plant had no chance. We had a cold front come through, the night temperature dropped into the 30s, and obviously this cantaloupe could not handle it. So this is a failed experiment. I don't know how much of it is due to just timing and weather, and how much of it actually has to do with the fact that its roots were not hardy enough to be able to punch through this heavy clay. Maybe I'll try again next year with the right timing. We'll have to see, but it's going to be something that is still, the verdict is still out on whether this works or not with the cantaloupe. All right, guys, as you can see here, this is the pumpkin that actually survived all those bunny attack, and it is quite beautiful. Though it does have a few bunny bite marks around here, and as of my shorts have shown you, these are survivors of due to putting cinnamon on the bite to keep the fungus from growing. And they came through, and it's gonna make for a great pumpkin bread. And but this is a fruit of me trying to punch through the compact soil and get some better nutritious and loamy soil to grow in the future. So yeah, as you can see, the plan going forward is continuing to let a cover crop like crimson clover propagate throughout this soil, as well as being able to plant hardy plants like pumpkin in the soil to punch through with their roots. And again, I'm not going to, I mean, maybe I'll try cantaloupe again to see if it's just timing and temperature that basically made it fail this time. But it did do something, and I did see some tiny, tiny baby fruit coming. But again, it could be the timing. 1 month can make a huge difference growing in zone 6A in the summer. So we'll see next year. Maybe I'll try again in one of these holes I dug. Maybe I'll make a few more holes and plant more pumpkins. We'll see. But until next time, keep vibing and keep gardening. See ya.